Thanks very much, Count Corla. First of all, I want to commend Deputy Connolly and Deputy Pringle for bringing this forward, and we're fully supporting it. It's a little bit of deja vu because we have had these discussions in this chamber and when we were in the convention centre quite a lot over the last year and a half. But I think it is, as Deputy Harkin said, important that we continue to have this debate until we actually get the situation resolved. You know, I'm always sort of surprised, and, you know, people that you speak to who are not maybe as involved in this are always somewhat surprised when they hear that that there is there's people who actually still don't have a legal entitlement to their birth certificate, and it is something that so many of us take for granted. And so many of us, it's the sort of document that you think every now and again, where exactly have I left that? But you always know you can ring up and get a copy of it. And, you know, it is something that we do take for granted, a lot of us anyway. Back in March, we introduced a bill similar to this, and in fairness, the government didn't oppose that either. However, we still are sort of in this situation where we don't have access to birth certificates for people who are adopted in Ireland. And I do think, and I know obviously I'm the chair of the Children's Committee, so I'm well aware that there is legislation going through that committee, and there's a number of members of that committee here this evening, and we are working through that, that pre-leg at the moment. And I think it's important to say as well that it's important for us to hear from as many people as possible in relation to this, which we're doing. And I do welcome that legislation. However, I don't see, and I didn't see back in March, what the difficulty would be in passing legislation that would now give access to birth certificates. And if there's other legislation that strengthens that, you know, well, that's great, but why can't we do this now? I suppose it feels like, you know, we're always waiting for something. And unfortunately, for people who have been so let down by this state over the years, you know, there is mistrust there. Let's just, you know, call that out. So it's difficult to convince people, I suppose, that, you know, the state is on their side in relation to this because they've been let down time and time again. And I think Deputy Connolly gave a good analysis of that when you look at everything in relation to the report and the leaking of the report. And then all of the stuff around people not actually maybe getting physical copies and being, you know, people who are of a certain age group being directed online. And there were so many different issues with it, you know, that it does seem like we're constantly failing people who have either been through the mother and baby system or who were adopted in this country. And I think there's an obligation on all of us to respect the human rights of individuals to manage their own identity and family relationships without further state interference. And this bill, and the bill I introduced last March, seeks to address this huge injustice. We cannot continue to condone the impact of the coercive, closed and secret adoption system that was enabled and continues to be enabled by the state. If it is true this issue was again thrust into the public discourse, again on the foot of the publication of the Mother and Baby Home Report, but it is wider than just survivors of these inhumane institutions. It cuts to the nucleus of how little regard adoptees have been given in this country to date. Again, I just want to reiterate our support for the bill. We are working through that legislation, and it's a positive. But I do think that we can do this now, and I think that if nothing else, it would demonstrate that we actually are serious about this, and we do want to finally see the right thing done by so many survivors. And even from the last one of the debates that we had last October, I know of women that have passed away that didn't have access to information, or that didn't get to even see the report being published. So the longer this takes, you know, the more people, unfortunately, that are going to die without ever seeing justice. And I think a birth cert, as I said at the start, is something so many of us take for granted. And I think it's something that we should ensure that there is access to. And just finally, I do want to say, it's a little bit of a different topic, but I have dealt with the SARS system recently for a number of people in my constituency, and that actually has been quite a positive experience for them. I know there's mixed views and everyone will have a different story. However, I do want to just put that on record, and I want to say, you know, we certainly have to criticise when we have to, but we also have to give credit where it's due. And I do want to say that as well while you're here, Minister, that has been positive for the people that I've been dealing with anyway. However, we still do need to see access to birth certs as a right. Thanks.